Warning: the Not Real Art podcast is intended for creative audiences only. The Not Real Art podcast celebrates creativity and creative culture worldwide. It contains material that is fresh, fun, and inspiring and is not suitable for boring old art snobs. Now, let's get started and enjoy the show.
Greetings and salutations, my creative brothers and sisters. Welcome to the Not Real Art podcast, where we celebrate creative culture and the artists who make it. I'm your host, Sourdough, coming to you from Crew West Studio in Los Angeles. Man, do we have a cool program for you all today. I have no doubt you will learn, grow, and be inspired by today's show. Before we get into our main event, I want to thank you for tuning in. Please be sure to like this episode and subscribe. Your likes and follows help ensure you won't miss any of our new shows, and it makes the algorithm gods happy, which helps us. So thanks for that. Also, be sure to visit our website, notrealart.com. Sign up for our newsletter to keep your finger on the pulse of everything we're doing here at Not Real Art for artists and art lovers. A lot of great stuff there. On the website, you'll get free educational videos. You can sign up for our artist grant for the chance to receive $2,000. You can buy affordable original and contemporary art through our partnership with Sugar Press. And you can become a supporter through Patreon if you want. So be sure to check out our website today for all the good, healthy stuff we got for you. Now, like I was saying, you're really going to enjoy today's episode because I have a real character, a bona fide character on today's show. He is the ambassador to the city of LA. Those of us who know better know that he's the real mayor to the city of LA, not Garcetti, but this dude here on the podcast today, we know as a true blue Angelino, fifth generation Angelino, professional photographer, documentarian, aspiring chef. This dude's one of a kind. Stephen Levey, I met a few years ago, liked him instantly. He's one of those rare human beings that he actually gives a shit. And he's actually a really good dude. And he says what he means what he says, which is rare anywhere, especially in LA. And he's always looking out for other people. I mean, he's helped me. He's helped Man One. He's helped so many people I know in the game. Just support them and promote them and just do anything he can to give back because he's that kind of dude. Super thoughtful, really generous. So I'm thrilled to have him on the show today. As you'll hear, we have a lot of fun cutting up, just trying to catch up on lost time during these quarantining days. It's been a while since we'd seen each other, so it was great to get together and chop it up a bit. So without further ado, let's get into this and hear from the one and only Stephen Levey. Stephen Levey, welcome to the Not Real Art podcast.
Thank you for having me, brother.
Man, what is this, like take 3?
No comment.
third time's the charm, man.
Everything is going off without a hitch. What are you talking about?
Hey, it's 2020, man. But what do you expect? Oh, wait.
No. We're past that shit.
Oh, shit. I got to stop using that excuse then, I guess. Well, I'll tell you what, as I said before, I'll say it again. It is so great to see you, brother. Thank you for taking the time out to sit down and chat it up for a little bit.
Of course, man. This is the only human contact I have nowadays.
Well, you're calling me a human?
I was thrilled when you reached out to me. It's a new person I get to see.
Well, my wife might question my humanity, but I'm grateful that you think I'm human. That's good. That's good. Well, man, I tell you what, that old saying about when life deals you lemons, you make lemonade. And to the extent that life has dealt us lemons, my friend, not only have you been making lemonade, you've been making bread and pancakes and all kinds of Epicurean delights. I mean, since when did you become a foodie? Were you always a cook, or was this something that you embraced sort of in this new quarantine era?
Okay, so the easiest way to respond to this is simply to say, I didn't even know my house had a kitchen. All of a sudden, COVID hit. And that's when I found a new mystery.
And you got hungry. Right.
Well, it wasn't even that. It was a matter of fact that, I can't run a Canvas now. What am I going to do? How am I going to survive?
Right. Turns out, I do have a kitchen. Now, how do I use it?
And that's where YouTube came in.
Right. Right. What a wealth of information and education YouTube is.
That thing's phenomenal. I mean, I learned how to juggle and I learned how to make quiche. I mean,
juggling quiche. So wait, you know how to juggle quiche now? Is that what you're telling me?
Maybe I should. I got to watch what I say.
Okay.
Now that I see how this is going to go, I got to watch what I say. I'm glad I didn't say anything about balls.
Well, we're good. We're going to get there.
Interview over.
Cut. So, well, because not only, I mean, obviously you're a professional photographer. So like the fact that you are experimenting with a new medium, cooking, and then you document it with these gorgeous photos. Like, I'm guessing your photography makes it look tastier than it actually is. I don't know.
So let me enlighten you to the wonderful world of being a photographer. I don't think anybody has said anything even remotely positive, specifically when it comes to the photography of the food.
Seriously?
I get a lot of negative, though.
What?
You're a professional photographer. Why do all your pictures look like garbage?
Oh, those haters.
The food's delicious, but I want to eat it. I don't want to photograph it. So, I take a picture of whatever it is, and most of the time the photos are usable. None of them are, like studio quality and, like what you would see in a magazine. I don't fucking care about that. I just made the thing. I want to go eat it.
Right.
So, the picture you get is, me hot out of the oven and then click and off you go.
Yeah, you don't want it to get cold. You don't want to have to nuke it in the microwave.
I don't even care about that. Like, funny enough, I made pizza like an hour ago, and I prefer the next day out of the fridge.
Sure.
Versus straight out of the oven.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of stuff that, it being cold is fine. It's the fact that I have no interest. I don't know if you know this about me or not, but I don't shoot people.
Right.
So,
I think I did know that. Yeah.
This is like that same kind of thing for me. Different logic, different reasoning, but it's the same kind of thing. I don't have any interest in taking a fine art photograph of my meal. Just, I am proud that I did this, and I was able to do this with no previous skill. And, I'm mainly doing it for myself, but I realized that, when I started posting the pictures, people were responding. Not necessarily about the image, which everybody thinks is garbage, but, like, that looks delicious. What is it? And, people are writing me like, oh, hey, I made that thing for dinner the next day, or, that's why I'm putting the picture up.
Yeah, well, one of the things that has, I'm glad you're unpacking that, because the truth of the matter is the food does look delicious. It actually looks delicious. And I think I've even responded a couple of times, like, what time's dinner or whatever. I don't know. Maybe I did. Maybe I thought to. But the point is,
there's too many of those responses for me to remember if it was you.
Right. Okay, good. Well, yeah, it was me. But and then what I love about it also is that your type A OCD stuff is coming out. Like, if you have any, because everything looks so well presented and manicured and curated. It's a beautifully architected image.
You are the first person in the, 9 months or so that I've been cooking and posting images to say anything remotely positive about the picture.
I'm being completely sincere too. It's like, this is just my reaction.
Grief. You're professional photographer. All the pictures look like shit. Like, just take 5 fucking minutes and take a good picture.
You're like nobody's paying me. It's like,
it's not even that. It's the fact that, I don't want Instagram fame. I don't, this thing isn't going to be for sale in a gallery or something. Like, you see what it is, and like, that's enough. If you have questions, I'm happy to answer them, but I'm not going to take, 20 minutes setting up, lighting and, losing glycerin to, make it shiny. Here it is. Enjoy your image. And I am now going to eat the food that I've been cooking for an hour.
So is there a go-to, like, you've been experimenting, a lot as we've seen. What are some of the recipes that have really caught your attention that, you feel like, oh yeah, this is going to be part of my regular kind of repertoire now in the kitchen?
So funny enough, it's more after I make it than it is the recipe or, what the reviews are.
Mm-hmm.
And there are, I don't know, at least a dozen things that I've cooked where I'll start off by saying, oh, this is definitely getting made again. And, sometimes it's a surprise. I know virtually nothing I make is going to be bad because of the ingredients. And, I'm limited to what I can cook for health reasons. Mm-hmm. So, everything is, cheese and bread and, I don't eat meat, not for vegan reasons. I just, I haven't eaten meat in 25 years. Wow. Except the other day I got suckered into getting some hot dogs. I got the chicken hot dogs, but nevertheless, that's the first time I had meat in 20 plus years.
Okay. Pump the brakes. This is big news. This is big fucking news. Breaking news right here. And I'm like honored, like you heard it here first, folks, on the Not Real Art podcast. Stephen Levey ate meat for the first time in 25 years the other day. Okay. First of all, it was a chicken hot dog. Of all the things that you could have, picked or chosen, somehow you as you said, got suckered into a hot dog, but then you chose it. So first of all, I know we don't know each other super well, but I mean, I think we've gotten to know each other pretty beautifully in a short amount of time. And what I think I know about you, if somebody asked me, Power, could Stephen Levey get suckered into anything? I'd be like, no, hell no, he's not a sucker. He cannot get suckered into anything. And yet you just said you got suckered into eating meat. Now, what was the scenario? Because and who was this mastermind person to be able to get you to break through after 25 years?
So I don't know if you know this about me or not, but my background is marketing.
Yes, I do know this.
Some people excel. Some people are tremendously good at what they do.
Yes.
And whatever commercial it was that I saw, they were very good at their job. And I said to myself that day, I was like, I'm buying hot dogs tomorrow.
So it was a commercial. It wasn't even a friend. It wasn't even a buddy or a friend saying, you got to try this, dude.
No. I don't know what show I was watching, but whatever the commercial was, it was for hot dogs.
We have to find out, and obviously you know this. You're for marketing. It's easy to find. We got to find out the agency that created that spot, and you need to reach out to them and say,
"Oh, I wrote them a vile hate letter, like 19 pages. It was terrible."
God damn you people.
You fuckers are too good at your job. You should give you a raise.
So did you have hot dog remorse the next morning? Like how were you feeling physiologically?
I feel fine. I mean, I didn't think it was going to necessarily adversely affect me health-wise. Just,
okay.
I'm going to say at least 20 years ago, but I think it's closer to 25.
Yeah.
I just, I had no interest in eating meat. And since then I haven't.
What was the triggering event? What was it 25 years ago? Was it just I don't want meat anymore? Or was it a health thing? Was it an ethical thing? Like what was that triggering?
I've always been, super healthy, but never really took care of myself when it came to eating. I mean,
right.
I don't know if you know the word hawser, but I've never been a hawser.
Mm-hmm.
I've always been thin. Mm-hmm. I got a good metabolism. I work out. Yeah. And to eat meat once in a while was fine. But one day, whatever it was, I decided that, I'd rather have a grilled cheese sandwich than a cheeseburger or something.
Right.
And that there was no catalyst. There was nothing that,
Okay. Well, good on you, man. I mean, good on that advertising agency who got you to go back, have a backslide.
Oh yeah, they definitely earned their paycheck.
Now, is that when you cut your finger? Like, how the hell did that happen? It looks like you have a bandage on is that your middle finger? What is that? Yeah, right. Yeah, it's your middle finger. Yeah.
So, what a stupid story. So, pre-pandemic, pre-lockdown, pre-COVID, I never cooked. I mean, I can make ice cubes like nobody's business.
Yes,
but,
yes.
Other than that, I burn some toast every once in a while.
Sure.
Everything came from a restaurant.
Right.
So, when this grief started, I decided that I had to learn how to cook.
Yeah.
And when I moved into the new house, there wasn't a microwave. So everything was, like, I got to make something from scratch and I got to put it in the oven. And I better learn quick how to do that. Like fire good in this case. I'm the opposite of Frankenstein. So along with that came, buying utensils and, buying pots and pans and knives. And so I decided my mentality, I might catch grief for this, but my mentality is buy whatever it is, buy the top thing, and then just buy it once. Yeah. Instead of buying, a lesser version of it and having to buy 3 or 4 of them.
Right.
Because, breakage or.
Yeah. Exactly. Pay
for what you get for what you pay. Really good set of knives. Mm-hmm. And I I knew, but I didn't really realize because my mentality is, I forgot what that thing is now, K-tel. Everything was like Ginsu. Yeah, the thing would cut through anything and it would last forever. It was incredible. That's bullshit. You need to sharpen those fuckers. So, I'm making bread once a week and I'm cutting the bread and I'm making whatever and I'm cutting that. So I realized that my super sharp, expensive knives were starting to dull. So like everybody else in the universe, I went to Amazon and bought shit. So I bought a knife sharpener. So I get the thing. It goes into quarantine for 4 days in the garage. And, now it's COVID safe. Yes. Comes out of the garage. I am not a read the instructions person. So especially with something like this, it's a knife sharpener.
It's a knife sharpener. Jesus.
There's no moving parts.
And you're a grown man. Of course you know how to use it. Exactly.
Well, grown man, yes. Adult, no. So I figure, okay, so I'm sharpening the knives and I'm doing the thing what it looks like in the movie and, everything is fine. And what I didn't realize was that I had enough knives on the counter where that one extra knife that was going on that I just finished sharpening was going on top of the other knives because I wasn't really looking. I was watching TV. So the knife slipped off the counter. And like an idiot, instead of, just, okay, it'll fall on the floor and I'll clean it, I'm going to grab it. So
there you go. Here, I'll tell you, show me one more time. I want to take a screen capture because this is a fan. No, the other way. Flip me off. There you go. That is exactly going to be the image that I use for this episode. That's fantastic. So, well, my friend, there was so much about that story that I enjoyed. The fact that
you're really easy to please.
Well, this is anybody that or any story.
This is a pandemic, Scott. I can say anything.
That's right. But see, I think people think they know you, but I mean, stories like this humanize you. I mean, you're not. I know a lot of people hold you on a pedestal. You're a superhero to so many.
Where are they? I would love to meet those people because everybody else is like, that fucking douche.
So this, this just makes them realize that, you bleed too, my friend. You bleed too.
Well, there's no evidence of that, but you'll take my word for it. It's super glued and all bandaged up.
Oh my gosh. So, you decided, one of the last times we spoke was early in the pandemic. And, I don't know if it was by choice or chance. I think it was chance because if I remember, it had something to do with wanting to be close to your parents or whatever. But I mean, you decided to move during this pandemic.
It wasn't really my decision. It was something that was necessary. But
right.
Word to advice for anybody listening, don't move during a pandemic.
Don't move. Yeah. You heard it here, people. Don't do it.
But and more breaking news. Levey says, don't move during pandemic.
However, the upside is the place, and I haven't been over yet. Maybe someday you'll have me over after pandemic. I'll bring knives. I'll bring my dull knives. You can sharpen them. But
invitation revoked. Yeah, right. Now I got to move again.
That's right. But I'm telling you, just based on and I knew from the photos that you were you moved into just like a quintessentially classic LA home, and that fireplace behind you, the mantle and everything. It's just gorgeous. I mean, it's super, super classic.
We've owned this place since the early 1900s.
Oh, really? Okay.
Beverly Hills was orange groves when we built this.
Wow.
I don't know if you know the Beverly Hills racetrack, but that was a block from here.
Okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So, this is everything is really the real thing. We had a lot of damage from the 94 earthquake. So some stuff had to be redone, but luckily, because, there's a photographer in the family, we've got a million pictures of everything. The construction crews that were, redoing everything had reference material.
Mm-hmm.
And for the most part, like 95% maybe, it is what it was in, like 1911.
Well, this reminds me of a story that I wanted to unpack with you. I mean, a lot of the average Joe out there, that doesn't know any better, they think Garcetti's the mayor of LA. For the rest of us who do know better, we know you, my friend, are the real mayor of LA. Take us through your history. Like, how did your family get to LA, and unpack that a little bit? Because I mean, when I think of LA, I think of you. When I think of you, I think of LA. So and you mentioned this building that you've had in your family for so long, so on and so forth. Like, what brought your people here?
So 5th generation Angelino. We came from Europe, and what the motivating factor was to move from Europe to LA, I have no idea.
Right.
That got lost in translation. Originally, like every other immigrant family, came to Ellis Island. Mm-hmm. And from there spread out through the U.S. Some went to Seattle, some went to Canada, which isn't the U.S., but nevertheless, I think we had some go to Texas. Everybody kind of, once they got off the boat and got through Ellis Island, kind of everybody scrambled. And everybody was everywhere.
What part of Europe, by the way? What part of Europe, do you know?
Half from England and half from Russia.
Got it.
Yeah. So the long story short is the family that went to Canada ended up coming, Winnipeg specifically, ended up coming to Beverly Hills.
Okay.
And, like I said, I mean, when they came here, Beverly Hills was orange groves. I mean, all the roads were dirt. There was nothing here.
Yeah.
Little by little, started to amass a little bit of money, and bought this property and built it. And another property like 3 or 4 blocks away, which unfortunately they had to sell for financial reasons, 1930s maybe. But that's basically the history of what I feel confident in saying that's 100% accurate. Mm-hmm. There's lots of supposition.
Sure.
That, through the family, they didn't do that. They came to so-and-so. I don't know, but what I do know for
allegedly,
because I heard it directly from the direct source, was what I told you.
Amazing. I mean, 5 generations in one city. I mean, that's incredible. And to see the evolution of this incredible place, it's a remarkable thing. No wonder your passion is documenting it photographically. I mean, why? I mean, how did you get to photography, and why LA? I mean, what drives you?
So that's a much longer answer than your short question. But
we got all the time, my friend. This is a podcast. We got all the time.
So back in the olden days, so my whole life I've been interested in photography. Not necessarily the process, but just taking pictures of everything that I saw. And hobby, but at no point in time did I say, I'd be able to monetize my hobby, and this would be a career, or I'm just a monkey that like pushing a button, and then looking at a later point in time as a remembrance of oh yeah, I was there, or I saw that, or to be able to share it with whoever at a later point that wasn't with me. And smash cut to 40 some odd years later, I took one picture, which kind of got me like the underground art scene. I became like a known entity. And then the above ground part of this, the gallery part, you hear people say, like by the grace of God, or, I'm agnostic, so I don't know what to use in lieu of that. But,
I'm a born again pagan, so I get it.
for the love of Scott, I'm driving downtown, for something completely not photography related because, that wasn't anything that, it wasn't my vocation. It wasn't anything I would go specifically. Well, that's not the holy truth. There are some places I would go specifically to photograph, but there was no driving motivation to go to somewhere for photography. So I'm driving on my way downtown and there's construction. So I get off the freeway and I'm taking Beverly Boulevard. And I drive by this very colorful, very interesting building, lots of arches in the front, very heavy architecture, and a massive crowd. I have no idea what I'm looking at, but I'm not really in a hurry to get to where I'm going, and I'm an inquisitive person. And everybody there kind of looked like me, so it'd probably be something I would be interested in. So I pulled over and parked and got out and asked somebody there what was going on. They're like, it's a street art walk. So I was like, okay, well, I like street art, how do I buy a ticket or whatever? They're like, no, it's free. So I was like, oh, okay, cool. So I'm listening to the speaker, and I'm not really that interested in what's being said. As it turns out, now it's a couple of years later, I'm friends with her, and I've never told her that I walked out of the speech part.
Who was it? Tell us.
Lizzie. It was Lizzie. So I walked out of the speech part to go to the art. So the benefit of that, which I of course realized, if you want to follow up with this, I'll tell you, but I have all the art to myself because the crowd's not over there.
Right.
So, I'm taking pictures and, hamana. And at this point I had, I don't know, maybe like a month at the most, I had been on social media. I had no interest in Facebook or,
right.
Twitter or anything. So for family reasons and a couple of friends that don't live in LA anymore, I agreed to get on Facebook, so we could all be in contact.
Sure.
So smash cut to, whatever it is, a couple months later, and, I'm at the crazy building with the street art tour, and I'm photographing everything. So I understand the value of contact, even though, I'm new to social media. So I wanted to make sure that all artists got tagged properly and, everybody got their due.
Yeah.
And most people know, some people don't. 100% of the time, if it's a photo of somebody else's art, I give them the image.
Yes.
They're free to use it however they want. There's no licensing issue. There's nothing.
Yes.
I wouldn't have had anything to photograph if they hadn't done the art.
Yep.
So I feel I owe it to them. So I took, however many hours was necessary to track down who the artist was when I was putting the photos up for this friend of mine who no longer lives in LA, but was really interested in hearing about this thing that I did earlier, the art walk. So I put all the images up and I tagged everybody and I made the thing public, which that is literally the first thing that I ever put public on social media. Everything else had just been friends and family. So almost right away, within a couple of minutes of the album going up, I start getting the pings, and I'm looking, like so-and-so sent you a friend request, so-and-so wants to tag themselves. I got, it's kind of self-explanatory, but, I don't know these people, and I don't want to open myself up to, everyone's crazy. I don't know who these people are. So after like the fifth or sixth or eighth one, everybody got approved. Yeah. So by the, 24 hours or whatever, now all of a sudden my 8 or 10 friends are like 30 friends.
Yeah.
And the people I don't know outnumber the people I know. So like maybe a week later, a couple of days later, I get a message from this guy saying, hey, I don't know who you are, but everybody's using these photos and building is in it. And, would it be okay if I use some of these for my website? And I'm being interviewed for the LA Weekly, and they want to use one. I think it was the cover. So I was like, yeah, sure. More power to you. Send me a link so I can see my thing I see my picture on the cover because that'd be cool.
That's cool.
So I don't know, 3 months later or something, I'm at a gallery which is now defunct on Sunset for a friend of mine their art opening, which is the very first art thing I was ever at. And coincidentally, at that art thing, this guy walks up to me and asks me if I'm the guy that took the photos in the alley. To which I responded very hesitantly, like, I am a guy and I have taken pictures of things in alleys. Like, I don't want to open myself up to anything.
You don't know this guy.
Money or,
right.
I don't know. So he's like, oh, I'm the guy that wrote you about using the pictures. So who's the guy? Jason Ostro. What was the building? Gaba Gallery. So, then we had a very short discussion. He told me that whole street art thing was his personal project. He's in charge of all of it. And so the end of and just coincidentally, the art opening that I was at, it was his. It was his opening at another gallery in conjunction with Andrea LeHue. So, we couldn't really have an in-depth discussion. He's got to go make money. So the end of our introduction was, hey, would you be interested in having an art show or being in an art show? And I was like, yeah, sure, that sounds great. LA, everyone's full of shit. So he's like, no, dude, that building is my art gallery. I am an art gallery owner. And,
yes, I'm legit.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, all right, give me your card and, we'll see what happens. So sure enough, everything was on the up and up. And, I was like, thanks for the invitation. I'd be really stoked to do this. But, just so you're aware, absolutely no experience. I have no idea what I'm doing. I don't know where to, So he's like, it's no problem. Just go get something printed and framed and, I'll take care of everything else. So I was like, okay, great. Thinking to myself, if it's not like Rite Aid or something, like where the fuck do I find a printer for fine art photography? And all of a sudden my shit is fine art photography? Like what just happened? So long story short, like everything else pretty much, I go to the internet, fine art YouTube. Printing. So I found somebody, they did not do a good job, but by the time I got everything, it was too late to have it redone. So I dropped everything off he let me put 4 photographs in to that first show. And I dropped everything off and, no questions about anything, like what kind of paper did you use or who's the printer or, what. And all I was thinking to myself, not knowing if that was like a standard thing, was thank fucking God he didn't ask any questions.
It's like, you didn't have answers. Yeah.
So 2 weeks, from the drop off to
Stephen, this is why you're perfect for the Not Real Art podcast, because there you are. You're like, I'm not a real artist.
That's still my point of view.
Most artists feel that way.
If you get somebody on, well, actually you've got a lot of people I know on the show, but if you get somebody I know on the show that has had that discussion with me, they're going to be like, I don't know how long you edit this down to, but it's going to be an hour of them just cursing and saying, fuck that guy, like just on a loop.
Yeah.
So I'm going off track a little bit, but here's what my impression is. And some people agree, a few people agree, most people disagree. I accept and respect everybody's opinion as long as they don't put the onus on me that I have to agree with them. This applies to no other photographer. I'm only specifically talking about myself. I don't consider a monkey pushing a button art. If you can go to the store and buy tubes of paint and a blank canvas and brushes, or something to that extent, have a blank wall with spray cans, and you end up, like what Alex does, man one art. There was nothing there. There was nothing there. It was white paint and stucco.
Yep.
And then, a handful of hours later, it's a 100-foot portrait of his parents.
Right.
Like that I consider art.
I get your point. I'm
taking an image of something that's pre-existing. I'm not making it. So I don't know what the definer is.
Do you think of yourself more as a documentarian?
With the photographing the empty Los Angeles during the pandemic, and the George Floyd and the BLM, yes. With the other stuff, which is, mainly what I do, shooting cars or buildings or, nature. That's not really, I don't feel like I'm documenting anything there, but I also don't feel that it's necessarily art.
Pure art.
And,
there's definitely an artistic dimension to it, but on the continuum of what is either pure art all the way down to, I don't know, commercial art, you're in the middle there somewhere.
Well, this is specifically applicable to me and me alone.
Yes.
I am now, because I'm established, and for whatever reason, people seem to like me. I've made friends with, some fairly influential, important, famous photographers.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had this discussion plenty of times. Some of them are really insulted because what they hear me saying is that photography is an art.
Right.
And some of them understand that
they take it personally. They think that you're critiquing them. Yeah.
They think that I'm critiquing the field.
Yeah.
And they're part of that. And then, I'll explain to them, as clearly as I possibly can, that this, like I've said now a couple of times, this is in no way applicable to you or photography or photographers. It's how I feel about me.
Yes.
And, I didn't spend years in school. I didn't spend one day in school. I don't have student debt. I don't have a shit ton of money invested in equipment. It's what I know is, what I know is self-taught. What I know is being able to learn from my own mistakes. And as the years have gone by, but that makes it sound like I've been doing this for so long. From the first gallery thing till now is, I think, maybe 4 years. And at the beginning, I was much more steadfast in the fact that, don't put me and Ansel Adams in the same category as like, oh, you're a photographer.
Right.
That guy's a photographer. I don't know what exactly to call me, but don't lessen his worth by connecting us. As the years have gone by, I'm more open to calling myself a photographer or an artist, but mainly for the reason of it's just the easiest way to introduce myself at a gallery or something.
Yeah, right.
But how I feel is, like maybe, another 4 years I'll feel different, or 40 years from now I'll feel different. But, it's one of my very, very good friends, Jeffrey Sklan. That guy's a photographer.
Right.
He's concerned with lighting and,
well, it's sort of, one of the ways of thinking about it too, it's like, and by the way, it says so much about you and your character that you're so careful to clarify and distinguish, the differences, because part of what you're getting at is some folks have put in their 10,000 hours, right?
Oh, yeah.
Whether it's photography or cooking or painting or whatever. You put your 10,000 hours in of whatever it is, or your 20,000 hours, or your 38,000 hours.
You have earned that title.
That's right. That's right. And those of us who haven't put our 10,000 hours in, we know that, and we're honest about it, and we honor them, and we're on our own path, right? But it's the polite thing to do to qualify. Yeah.
I just don't feel that. I had, I don't know, a couple of years ago, I had a fairly substantial solo show. And, it was a big deal for me. I mean, it was my first one, and, it was a lot of art and a lot of work, and,
Yep.
And somebody came into the show and wanted to buy some. And the manager of the gallery came and got me. And the potential buyer wanted to ask me some questions about the image and my process and my equipment. That's fine. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I don't have any problem talking to anybody about anything, let alone my own images. So, in the discussion with this person, he's asking me, about, like I said, about my process and my equipment. And, I explained to him exactly how I did what I did to achieve the image that he's now looking at and potentially wants to purchase. And when he found out what equipment I used, immediately started lambasting me. And it was, I am not...
To your face.
Oh, yeah.
In the show.
And
in your own show. Jesus.
at the opening.
Yeah, what an asshole.
And, I am normally, I am not somebody that is subtle. I am not somebody that's PC. I'm definitely not confrontational. I'm definitely not non-confrontational.
Right.
So, as quietly and calmly as I could because of the situation,
Sure.
I just simply said to the guy, if I hadn't said anything, would you have bought the image? And he said, probably. And I said, why would you have bought the image? And he said, because I liked it. And I said, and why are you not buying it now? And then, and additionally, spent 5 minutes berating me. He said, because my kid, my 10-year-old daughter, has the same equipment issue. Why would I spend $2,000 for this? This makes no sense. So at that point, that was kind of like the turning point for me when I went from, not a photographer to kind of maybe being able to accept introducing myself as a photographer, regardless of what I feel is the right thing to do. And, I don't know if you know or not. I assume most people know at this point because I have no compunction about hiding it. Do you know, and if you don't know, I'm curious to hear what equipment I use?
You shoot exclusively on an iPhone, don't you?
So you do know. So a lot of people know because, I feel no reason to hide that.
Right. I think it's a beautiful thing. It's like, it's your tool of choice. And, some painters choose to use aerosol. Some painters choose oil. You know what I mean? Like, you're using an iPhone. It's a legitimate tool. The fucking technology in this machine here is incredible. And it should be put to artistic ends.
Using the phone as a camera was a matter of convenience at the beginning. Because I always have my phone with me, and I take pictures of everything. So, this seemed to make perfect sense to me. As time progressed, and I started to take this more seriously, I broached the topic of getting a camera, and I don't use Photoshop or
right.
And I had that discussion with plenty of people, and everybody said you don't have that option anymore. Like, this is the iPhone is your shtick now.
Yeah, right.
If you go to a camera, you're just going to be like everybody else. So
yep.
I stuck with it, A, because it was convenient and working, but B, because I got myself into that groove where, that was my thing. And you haven't said anything, and I don't know if it's because you don't realize what a big deal it is, but I don't have a beard.
By the way, I was going to mention it, you asshole, but you preempted me. Yes.
Breaking news.
No more breaking news. Maybe I should have mentioned this at the top when I first saw your face. I absolutely was going to get here. So since you beat me to the punch, please tell us the story.
So, the story is fucking COVID, and I wanted a good seal, which I got to thank, Paint the Town, right?
Oh, yeah. I love those guys.
So Keith and James are both friends of mine.
Mm-hmm.
And the last time that they interviewed me, the CDC put this thing out about, if you have this kind of beard, it's okay. And if you have this kind of beard, you're definitely going to die. So my beard was past that one.
You were, Walking Dead.
So, So, James, being the character that he is, inserted that image into the podcast. He's like, where did we put you on this scale? So, I said to him on more than one, I realize I'm branching off my original thought, but Jews have a tendency of doing that. Ask any Jew. So
I have many Jewish friends. I have many Jewish friends. I'm well aware.
King of the interrupters of ourselves. So I was telling James the story when he brought up the thing with the beard. They said, every time specifically, because it was really the only place I was going besides the market, every time I was going to the fire station, everybody is, what the fuck are you doing? You're wearing a mask that's this far off your face. You're not doing yourself any good there. So for whatever reason, when James put up that thing with the chart, it was like, I don't want to do it.
Right.
I also don't want to die. So,
and the beard grows back and the beard grows back, but you can't be resurrected from the dead. So
you don't know. You don't know me.
I mean, Elon Musk may figure it out. I wouldn't doubt him.
There's a history of some other guy doing that, I think.
Allegedly.
And he was a Jew. So
yes, the first performance artist, by the way. A lot of people think Jesus was the Son of God. I say he was a performance artist, and the crucifixion was his masterpiece. Think about it. He was all about love. He was the first hippie. He was a total artist. I mean, he was all about love. He was all about peace.
About that. I don't know if you can see this, but
yeah, you're coming.
Yeah, this is happening.
Wait, show me the hands. Any nail scars? I'm sorry. For any evangelicals listening.
So I don't know if there's a filter I could put.
By the way, that would be good.
So anyways, when James put that thing up, I was like, yeah, I got to shave.
Right.
And, ever since then, I've kept it off.
Yeah.
I think this is pretty much the longest that it's been since.
Now that I totally get that, because I also started, in addition to making sure that I had a good seal on my mask, I started wearing a condom during sex with my wife too. You can't be too careful. I'm
not going to ask questions I don't want answered. So I'll just say congratulations.
Well, I'm still alive, right? I mean, and not only did my COVID test come back negative, my HIV test came back negative too. So, hey, I got it all done at the same time.
You need to insert the applause sound effect right there. Or maybe golf clap, not full applause.
Yeah, right. So you have I'm going to say you have a reputation. Let me rephrase that, because
I've got many reputations.
It's been my observation. It's my observation that you are one of the most, you are incredibly generous and empathetic. Where does your empathy and generosity come from?
I think the easiest answer is, family is your base. And I learned at a very young age that no matter what position somebody is in life, a waiter, president of the United States, everybody is equal. And I've, my entire life, I was going to say my entire adult life, but my entire life, I don't like bullies. I don't like, people that, are going to take the shortcut. I don't, anybody that's willing to fuck somebody over to get ahead. Anything that's where your character is dubious, I'd rather disassociate from that person. And I don't want anybody under any circumstance to feel like that about me. So I behave how I would want somebody that I'm close to, how I would want them to behave. And, for the most part, I think I do a pretty good job. I'm willing to, be helpful when I can. I'm willing to, make myself available when I can. I enjoy doing it.
Well, and
I enjoy, solving somebody else's problem if I can, or, helping them out. And I don't do it for them. I'm doing it for me. And if they're benefiting from it, that's great. But, it makes me feel good that they trusted me to tell me whatever the problem was and then allowed me to help them to resolve it. And, without sounding too hokey or, too hippie-ish, the world would be a much better place if people took other people into consideration and weren't so concerned with themselves and what was in it for them and what benefit they're going to eke out of, and keeping a scorecard. And I forgot what the exact phrasing of this saying is, but it takes far less energy to smile than frown.
Yeah.
And anybody that's been out with me for the projections, almost one of the first things that I say to them when it comes up in the conversation that, why did you choose to invite me? I have one rule, to get through life. Don't be a fucker. If you can just not do that one thing, pretty much anything else can be forgiven. Just don't be a fucker.
Yeah.
And, it seems like a simple thing, but as you know, it is not a simple thing.
Right. Well, and, I just want to tell you, because you've been incredibly supportive of everything I'm doing and Man One's doing and everything.
You're awesome. Why wouldn't I want to support you?
Well, I know, and thank you for that. Thank you. But I just want to take this opportunity publicly to say thank you for that support and for your generosity and for your thoughtfulness. And by the way, if I could be so bold, I'll just thank you on behalf of everybody else you've helped and supported over the years. Because
don't do that.
Okay, I take it back. But it's awesome, man. It's awesome because it does take a village, and we do have to cover each other and look out for each other. And a lot of people don't, and that's fine. Whatever, everyone's on their own path.
Well, Sklan introduced me to a saying that I've used many times. I always credit him. I don't take any credit for it, but I've used this many times. Either we all hang together or we hang separately. And I really believe that that's the case.
Right.
If you're in a position where you can help somebody up, why wouldn't you do that? I don't get that whole thing. I coined a phrase years ago when the gallery part started of my ridiculous art life. The phrase or the term is bus pusher. And some people automatically, understand what that means. And some people have no idea what I'm talking about.
I know exactly what you're talking about. It's true.
And for the people that don't, I'll elaborate. So a bus pusher is the equivalent of somebody that is willing to push you in front of or under a bus to benefit in some way by your demise or injury.
Yep.
And those people are garbage people. I have no compunction about calling them out. I think they should all be publicly shamed. And I don't know what happened to them in their lives that this is who they are as an adult. But regardless of what happened, it's not acceptable behavior. And, I choose not to associate with those people. Hopefully I would know before I invested any time into a relationship. But people are good actors sometimes, and you get roped into the facade, and then realize that they're garbage. And once that happens, I am not averse to trimming the fat.
One of the great examples of this empathy and generosity that I'm praising you about is the money that you raise for important causes with the LA Marathon. How much money have you raised to date?
It's got to be over $100,000, but yeah. I don't know what the exact number is. And last year alone was over 30.
Right. It's St. Jude's. Who do you?
St. Jude's is my charity.
Yeah. And you've done that how many years now?
7.
Right. 7 LA Marathon finishes.
No, I've done 8 marathons, but 7 were actually, I think I did even more than 8. Maybe it's more than 7 years, because I think this year would have been my 11th year. So maybe 9 years with St. Jude's and 10 marathons. Yeah, how I got with St. Jude's, that's a whole story in itself.
Let's hear it.
I don't know if you know or not, but anybody that knows me, I don't have kids. So, some people assume maybe it was my niece or nephew had childhood cancer. Thank God that wasn't the case. I was on my way to Mexico, and about a 6-hour flight. And the woman next to me had her daughter with her. You could see, visibly there was an issue, but there was nothing that, you could pinpoint. And, we're making small talk on the flight when, you could actually fly somewhere. And, she was super nice and just really personable. And it got me more invested in our conversation. And during the 6 hours, from tarmac to tarmac, and then even a little bit afterwards in the passport control, she's telling me that she's flying down to Mexico with her daughter. Sadly, she doesn't have that much time left. She has cancer and she wanted to go see family. And so during the conversation, it came up about St. Jude's and what a phenomenal organization they were, and how they gave her extra years with her daughter, and she wouldn't have been able to pay for any of the treatment, let alone anything else. So somehow in the conversation, the marathon came up. So she said, oh, I think they're a sponsor. So when I got back to LA, I went to the LA Marathon's website and I went to St. Jude's website. And sure enough, they're an official sponsor, official charity. So I reached out to St. Jude's and got to, I don't know, somebody in corporate. And I told them, about what happened, that, this woman, I want to help if I can. What can I do? And I said, I'm doing the marathon. I see you guys are partners. So she said, oh, if you want to do a fundraiser, that'd be great. So I said, okay, well, tell me, send me whatever I need to know. Or, she's like, no, you just go to the website and you sign up. And if you raise X amount of money, then, we give you this. And if you get X amount of money, we'll bump you up to this next thing. So, and just to clarify, give doesn't equate like, if you raise so much money, you get a new Cadillac. Right. We give you a shirt. So I was like, oh, okay, this is awesome. So that first year, which again, circling back to the earlier part of this, I was not, I didn't have like a huge social network, Facebook and whatever. So the people that I was, getting to donate are people I know like in real life. And I put the thing up, I think I put the thing up on Facebook. Oh, I wasn't even on Facebook. Forget what I just said. I wasn't even on social media at that point. So I raised X amount of dollars. It wasn't a lot, like a couple $1,000s. And, I did the marathon, which I'm going to do the Jewish interrupt us again. So let me tell you a short interlude of my stupidity with the marathon. So the marathon went by my house and I had somewhere to go. I had no interest in running a marathon. I worked out my whole life, but I was never a runner. So, I leave the house and I'm driving to where I got to go and sunset's blocked off. So, of course, like, what? So I parked the car, I go talk to the cop. He's like, yeah, dummy, it's a marathon. They have it every year. So I was like, okay, well, how do I get around it? He's like, you're fucked. Like
all day. you're
go,
fucked all day.
You're going to have to charter a helicopter. So I decided what I was going to do is I would just jump over the barricade and walk, down the marathon from where I started to where I had to go, which was maybe a mile, drop off what I needed to drop off. And then I would just do the same thing coming back. So that's what I did. And when I got back to my car and then drove back to my house, I was like, I don't know what the big deal is about doing a marathon. I did less
26.2.
I did less than one. Idiot. So I was like, oh, you know what? Fuck it. Next year, I'm going to sign up for this thing. So, I didn't do any training or anything because in my mind, I'm super fit. I'm whatever, like 40 years old. I'm not, I'm never going to die. So I signed up for the thing. And a year later, I get an email, like, hey, we just, want to let you know that come down and pick your bib up for the marathon. I was like, oh, yeah, I signed up for that thing. So I did it in no socks and Converse, and everybody that knows me knows I'm a Vans guy, but that's what I decided to wear because, for whatever reason. So no socks and Converse and, just like regular clothes. So I don't know, 3 miles in, I had that like that rat that's turning on the wheel. Like all of a sudden the cogs stopped. And it was like, this was a huge mistake. And, at that point, I could do one of two things. I can keep going or I can go home. Anybody that knows me knows that what's definitely going to be on my tombstone. Anyways, I have to keep going. I started, I have to finish.
Yes.
So I will save you the graphic description of my physical.
The bodily fluids involved.
I'll just say this. I didn't know that you could produce that many colors.
Yes.
So
yes. We're all a rainbow, really.
The shoes had to be thrown out. It took me about 2.5 months to be able to walk properly. That's not an exaggeration for comedic effect. That is every year that's the case.
You destroyed yourself.
It's bad. I mean, it's super bad. So, like I look like, I work out, I look like I'm in shape and, I'm a fit guy. The inside is like old gum and like a used Band-Aid. I'm an old man with physical ailments. The outside is, the outside appearance
gorgeous
is,
on the outside, not so much
effect.
On the inside.
The mechanics of my car, that doesn't work good. Like,
oh my God!
An eight-cylinder car running on two plugs, that's fine. So just where I need to go.
So cutting to the crash though, just to sort of compare and contrast. So do you remember what your time was that first year? Was it like 8 hours?
I'm really consistent. If that's one thing where I will pat myself on the back if I could have the flexibility to reach back there, I'm really consistent. Whatever date the marathon is, it's always on a Sunday.
Right.
I start Sunday morning and I finish Sunday. Other than that, I don't really care.
But that, by the way, that is a brilliant, very wise way of thinking about it. Because see, you strike me as somebody that has what they call fast twitch muscles, which is not yeah, exactly. And I have what they call slow twitch muscles. I have two speeds, slow and slower. And every time I see a photo of you at the end of the marathon, you look like an Adonis, like you're just like chiseled, like it looks like you're breaking, like sub 3 like times or whatever. So don't fuck with my fantasy.
My act is working. It's convincing people. Where's my Oscar?
That's amazing. Listen, man, anybody that's going to toe the line for 26.2, let alone for charity, raising money, I mean, they do deserve a medal at the end of the day, and whether they, no matter what the time is, and it's a beautiful thing.
My whole thing is just about finishing.
That's right.
It's a personal thing for me. I already raised the money. All that money is donated before the marathon even starts.
Yeah, right.
And there has been more than 1 year because of my physical issues that I have been advised definitely 100% do not do the marathon. Don't do it.
Yeah.
And
Well,
my brain doesn't work like people are donating based on me doing it. So I feel guilty that they donated and, I'm not doing it. That's not to make anybody else feel responsible or bad for, what I suffer at the end and for months afterwards. It's the fact that I feel like I made a contract with them.
Yeah.
I'm asking them, in some cases I am telling them, but I'm asking them, please donate to my marathon fundraiser. What am I going to say? But I'm not going to do the marathon?
Right. No, hell no. Well, part of the reason why I wanted to ask about this is that I actually have kind of an emotional connection to the race as well, because when I moved from Chicago to LA in 2001, the first friend that I made, I was here 2 weeks. I was living on the West Side. I walked into a store, met the store owner. He was like my first friend. He was my first friend. His wife was the founder of the LA Marathon. And so Marie, her name is Marie Patrick. And Marie, in classic fashion, recruited me as a volunteer. Like within 5 minutes of meeting me, she's like, "Oh, so you're new in town? Oh, great. So you don't know anybody? Oh, I bet you like to meet new friends." Yeah, I would. Well, here, I know the marathon's coming up. Come on down, volunteer. Right. So I was a volunteer for several years, and so it's a very special event. It's incredible. At that point, they were doing the loop. They hadn't sold yet. Now they do the Sunset Point to Point, which is an amazing route, very, very challenging route. But hats off to you, brother, for doing that, man. That's amazing stuff.
I'm trying to get back to where I diverted.
Oh, yes.
I don't remember.
We're just driving around. We don't know where we're going. We just can't wait to get there. Yeah, please. So yes, take us back to the beginning.
I don't remember where the beginning was. Where did I go off the rails?
And just for the listeners' sake, I mean, it's 2:30 in the afternoon. We're not drinking. We're not smoking. I mean, this is just how
I don't drink or smoke. I never have that as an excuse. Right. It's just being old.
I turned 50 last year. How old are you?
Oh, welcome to the club.
Okay, so I'm a latecomer. All right, good. Yeah, well,
I got a couple of years on you.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, you definitely look wiser than me. That much is sure. I want to know if you look older. The beard.
I already agreed to do this. You've already been recording for however many hours.
Well, and with that in mind, Stephen Levey, I want to thank you, my man, for spending this time with us. I know our audience is going to love this episode. You are such a fantastic human being. The world is better with you in it. LA is better with you being here 5 generations in. This is incredible. Thank you, brother. Tell our listeners where they can find you online.
I don't care about that.
Good. Fuck them.
Just go find Not For Real Art and follow them. And
Look
follow
at you. Oh,
Alex, he's at Man One or at Man One Art.
At Man One. Well, it's man1art.com. No, man1.com. And then at Man One Art is his IG. That's right.
Yeah. Follow those guys and follow, the podcast, and don't unsubscribe because of what you saw here. He has plenty more people. There's plenty more interviews to see.
Well, by the way, so there aren't too many guests that I have that I really want to have back as a reoccurring guest. You are absolutely.
And that holds true now.
I was actually going to shock you. I know people never tell you this, but I might be the first. I absolutely want you back, brother. I absolutely want you back. Hey. Although I know that's not entirely true because the Painted Town Boys have had you a few times and we love those guys. I don't know if you heard our holiday episode with them, but we had our special holiday episode with the boys at the Painted Town in December. That was a lot of fun. They had us on earlier in 2020, so we had them back.
Huge mistake.
I wasn't going to say that, but you know what? You're right. You're right. If I'm honest.
That's right. I got no dog in this game. I can say whatever I want.
That's right. That's right. My friend, listen, when life sort of gets back to normal, so to speak, we're going to get together and we're going to break bread. By the way, you're going to make the bread. And
every Tuesday.
Well, you have a see day. And
thank you, brother. You too. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate the invite.
So much fun. Good to see you. Always great to see you. Long overdue. And you will see me again real soon, whether you like it or not.
I don't know if that's a threat or not, but yay!
See you, my friend. Have a good one.
Later.
Ciao.
All right.
Hey there. Thanks for tuning in. Please be sure to like this episode, write a review, and share with your friends on social. And if you haven't already done so, please press the subscribe button and follow us on Instagram at Not Real Art World.